Welcome to Rock That Relationship, a podcast about all things relationship with Corey and Tracy.
Now let's get real and start creating relationships that rock.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another great season of Rock That Relationship. We're actually all the way to season 14. I can't believe it. We've been doing this for years. And wow, we've done so many seasons. This one's actually on friendships. This is a topic we've been wanting to do for a while. And we're really excited to be able to get into it this season and talk all about friendships. So Tracy, what are you thinking about this season? How are you feeling about it?
Well, I'm just fixated right now on the fact that you said we've been doing this for years. You see how, like, you always tell me, oh, just do something and then it'll be done before you know it. And in the time since we've met, I've gotten all these ideas of things I should do. I haven't done any of them. And I'm actually shocked that we've been doing this for years. See, it seems like just a couple months have passed.
Well, that is true. Well, is there a common denominator between the things that you've done and the things that you haven't done, like maybe my involvement? I'm just going to say, I'm just going to say the other things you wanted to do on your list, I wasn't involved with, but.
Well, that you have said you're going to back off and not mommy me and get me to do those things like with my business. It does take me a lot longer to get somewhere without your guidance and assistance. True.
Yes. Well, I did try to get you to finish start writing your book. You remember our first?
I know. Yeah. Well, that's been going on that preceded you by 14 years.
I know. But when we did the online book thing and, we were trying to do it was shut up and write. And I was like, just be quiet for like 1 hour and just write. And
I took a nap.
Oh my gosh. You were talking to people on the phone and you were answering, questions, posting stuff on social media. I was like, hello. And then afterwards you're like, that was not productive at all. I got no writing done. And I was
they're welcome to my life. Yes.
Yes. But anyways, we've been doing this for a while. So, we have a great season ahead, with friendships. So let's talk a little bit about friendships. Let's start out with this kind of notion about why friendships are even important. I mean, especially for people who, may just want to kind of hang by themselves or, I don't know, even just in a family and just kind of, recede a little bit and don't necessarily have friends. And so we'll talk about some of the reasons that they're important, but there's been so many studies on this. We'll post this in the show notes, but friendships, actually boost immunity. They reduce stress. They ward off depression. They've actually found that having friendships equates to actually living longer. And there's all sorts of metrics behind that. So, I mean, friendships are really important to have. They're really, really good to have. But let me ask you, Tracy, and we'll talk a little bit about this, is what to you are the biggest benefits in your life to having friends, as opposed to having a partner, as opposed to having family or coworkers or something, but just like friends?
Well, I mean, historically, it's what friends are what have gotten me through all of the rough times in my life, right? Like from childhood on, I've always had friends. I've always had close, like maybe not necessarily a ton of friends, but really close friends, like a group of friends. And I've had the same group of super close friends for over 20 years now. And I mean, that's what gets me through. I don't know. I asked this question because I am around introverts and I'm like, okay, introverts do have friends, right? They have close friendships, but
I have heard that.
No, I've heard it too. Have I seen evidence
a rumor
of it?
about that.
But it's hard for them, right? It's hard for them to keep it up. And so keep up the friendships because it requires work, right? And I've thought about that, like, what kind of person would I be? I don't know. And do I need friends? And I mean, I think that I do, right? Like I actually feel like I need them. And they were always a lifeline for me, And right now, yes, I'm experiencing the happiest time of my life and I'm super happy and I'm busy with this family stuff. But that doesn't mean that that's going to be that way. And it doesn't mean that those friendships aren't as equally important in the good times, It's harder to make time for that when you're busy. But it's for me, it is really essential. And we actually watched a movie the other night. My wife and I watched it Remarkably Bright Creatures with Sally Field. Have you heard of it? It's probably one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Nope. Is it older or is it new?
No, it's brand new Netflix. It's a book that came out in 2022, but it's a widow who forms a relationship with an octopus, and she's a cleaner at a small aquarium, and it's based on that octopus, that real octopus Agnetha, who was always getting out of her enclosure and trying to get back to the sea. And it's a beautiful movie, and we actually made the kids, a 13-year-old boy and two 10-year-old boys, watch it while we were making cookies for their class, which we made 75, and then found out, oh, guess what? You can't bring. They didn't think to say this until we were done baking them, that you can't bring homemade stuff.
Nope.
So,
no more of that.
Well, that happened when we were done with them. So
Yep.
A lot of my neighbors got cookies last night because we need them out of the house. But they were like, this is boring. I don't want to watch this. And then, you see them like caught up in it. But I was like, you have to learn about human relationships and connection and friendship. It's not just about what you get out of it or what you need. And it changes in your lifetime, And so what may be like, there's so many layers of friendship in that movie. It's incredible. It's so worth watching. But the older friendships, newer friendships where she's talking to an octopus, I mean, in this movie, the octopus talks or verbalizes in its own head, not to her. But what does it mean to have somebody to talk to? And, we've heard about the loneliness epidemic in the world, and it is traditionally afflicted older people, but now it is afflicting a lot of people. And then people have, lots of reasons. Is it social media? I mean, for me, social media does the opposite of makes me lonely. It brings me connection, people that I've met who live all over the world. So it is personal, right? Everybody's personal. But for me, like, that's why I talk about this all the time at the Elephant Nature Park. If I stay multiple weeks, which that one time I was there for 2.5 weeks, so I got to get 3 different groups of volunteers. So, I mean, I have friends who reach out to me that live in, Australia, whatever, Europe, who that 1 week really brought us close, because you spend a lot of time together. And to me, that's like a life worth living. Like, I feel like the first 55 years of my life were dedicated to mastering relationships. Like, that's what I felt like I came to this lifetime to do. But now that I'm in what I believe is the most perfect thing, now I'm focusing on money, right? And making money, which is kind of ironic because I'm so old, but I know what it is. I know how important it is to have friendships and relationships.
Yeah.
Well, so now I can focus on other things.
Sounds like, I mean, you've really leaned on a lot of friends over the years, and friends have leaned on you, in a reciprocal kind of way to create that connection, foster that connection, whether that's even in the short term, you just meet them somewhere and see them for a while, or you keep in touch or whatever that might look like. But they've been really there for you and serve as your inner circle. I think what's interesting about this for the benefits is, some couple of these things that scientifically have been proven is that, increases longevity or reduces stress. And I think about when you have long-term healthy relationships, healthy friendships, those can do those things. But if you're constantly dealing with, toxicity in friendships or a turnover of friendships, that it probably doesn't reduce stress and it probably doesn't increase the longevity. So
right.
It's not just a matter of having friends. It's a matter of having good friends that are kind and respectful and supportive. And so, as we go through the season, we'll talk more about how do we shape our friendships and influence our friendships to be or select our friendships to be those that are the ones that are healthy for us. But,
right.
So for me, the benefits are, I love connection, and I love, not just connecting with people, but I love when other people connect with each other. So like this weekend, I led a meetup hike, and, people made connections with each other. And I tried something different this time that I'd never done before, it was a 4-mile hike. And after each mile we stopped, and it was right every time right around the mile mark was like some type of a trail junction. So we were going to stop anyways and just make sure everybody caught up. But I said, okay, everybody switch now, talk to somebody that you haven't talked to yet. Because when you're on a trail, you're sort of one after another and you only talk to one person. And so we did this 4 times. So people had at least 4 substantive conversations with people. And I asked how it went, and everyone was like, that was actually kind of cool. We hadn't done that before. And I said, yeah. And some of these people have known each other, for a long time, but it gave people like some opportunity to really kind of have some uninterrupted connection time. And so I really think that that's important. And I think it's important to find different people for different reasons. I've got some friends that I'm, more.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you do it for yourself or did you do it for them? And do you think that would have happened if you hadn't facilitated it?
I did it for all of us. There were people I wanted to talk to. I wanted to talk to various people, but once you're sort of in line and you're stuck in line, you're always with the same person, even if they're wonderful and you want to talk to them. But then I was like, other people are stuck in line too. Or maybe they're talking to the person they came with, which,
right.
What's the point of coming to meet up? And then I was like, oh, I just thought about it off the cuff. So I did it and then it worked really well. And then, and so would that have happened if I didn't do it? No, because I think that the environment of a trail, I mean, some people might have switched up a little bit, but for the most part, when you're in a single file line, it's kind of hard to like stop and go back 3 people and talk to somebody or even hear what they're saying. So
or it's hard to break away from one person without seeming rude.
Right, exactly. And this gave people an opportunity to do that. I mean, each mile was about 25 minutes. And so you got a pretty good conversation with someone, and then you could move along and talk to someone else. So I thought that was pretty cool. I liked it. You know me, I like to have a lot of people in my orbit. I look to friends for lots of different purposes. Like I said, whether it's entertainment or connection or support or guidance. And that's always been really important to me. And I've even told you that, like when I'm dating, it's like, I always have to tell, like, if I'm dating anyone or I'm about to date someone, like, listen, this is who I am. Like, I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of one-on-one connections. I'm not going to bring you to every single thing I'm doing with a friend because I want one-on-one time with them. And it has nothing to do with like cheating on you. It just has to do with the fact that I like one-on-one connection. And, I've been very transparent about that. So to me, friendships are just like,
has that ever caused problems in relationships?
It hasn't. But
do you think that's because you address it right up front?
I think so. Yes. I'm like, this is just how I am. This is how I show up in the world. And, I'm with somebody now who thinks that that's such a cool aspect of my personality and does the same thing. I mean, she was on the hike yesterday and we weren't each of our 4 rotations. Like we talked to different people because we were there to meet other people. And then we hung out, before and after, so I really appreciate that approach. I don't want somebody who, if I'm going to go to an event with them, that we're just like stuck together the whole time.
Right.
And so, yeah, I thought it was really cool. So when I do another event like that, I'm going to try to be more mindful about just not having it be a hike, but having people mix up and get to know each other. And people were exchanging phone numbers and talking about where they wanted to, like maybe we could.
Do you think if you put that online in the description, that would attract more people or turn some people off? Like, is it better? I mean, you came up with it on the fly while you're doing it, but like, do you think if you advertise it that way? Because like, I wonder if in people's minds, it's like when, like they see meetup, like, are they like hopeful to meet other people when they go to that, or they just want like somebody to be around? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's
something
interesting
to do. So, well, and a lot of people say that they do the hiking meetups because they don't know the trails and they don't want to go by themselves. So there's like a real logistical reason some people do it. But, I think if I put it in the description, I mean, it could bring in a different group of people too. Just people who are like, oh, I'm not, hiking's fun, but I also like to just get to know some people. And this might be a cool way. It's like speed friends,
Yeah, it's like exactly
on the trail.
That's what people need. I do think people need that. I mean, there's all those things online about you can go to these dinner clubs, these dinner party things, whatever, to meet people. I forget what they're called, but there's like one that I used to get the ads for, but I never went because I don't know, I'm weird. Like I like to, as you know, do things my own way, which maybe they're not always the best way, but I feel like it works that way for me.
Yeah. Well, and some people like you and I have talked about the idea of like, we're both extroverted. So I could go to a meetup hike and not have the hike leader do what I did yesterday and still manage to talk to people. But there are other people that would just either
recede into the background, right?
Exactly. Not talk to anyone.
Right.
The cool thing about this too, it wasn't like just mixing up who you were talking to. It was ensuring that everyone had someone to talk to, because
Right.
there are other hikes I've been on where people just kind of glom together, and then you're like, oh, well, what conversation can I get into? And so this
or it's like, middle school, and they're afraid to go talk to people or get in.
Right.
Like, it's so hard, I think, for people to approach a group and there's already people talking like they're besties. And then, even I'm experiencing that in pickleball where I work and where I play. It's like, I'm not going over to some group that I don't know that they're going to be receptive. You know what I mean? And they may not even care, but it's like in my mind, and it's like, oh no, that's the cool people, or that's the good people, or that's the whatever people. I would never try and play above my level. Like, I wouldn't try and get in with the 5-0s, but still, I still feel that way, like uncomfortable. So at the club where I work, they do a lot of facilitated, round robins, and I forget what they call mixers and things like that.
Yeah, I like that. I love that, because it is kind of contrived, and there's people who think like death by icebreaker, but like, I really think that they work.
Yeah,
they do. And, that kind of gets me thinking about this other thing that I was reading about, which is kind of very much like this. There's this theory called the strength of weak ties, And what that basically means is that we get benefits from even just casual interactions with people, like acquaintances, coworkers, even just someone like we talked to on the trail for our 25-minute rotation, is that we get some kind of health benefit or well-being benefit from that, even if they don't sustain into like long-term friendships. And, I know you and I, even though you might get nervous to go over and talk to the 5-0 people, or sometimes I do recede on a big hike where I don't know anyone, and I'm a super extrovert, as are you. But I'm thinking about like these weak ties and how important they really are. Like, what are the things that work for you when you're maybe talking to a stranger? How do you make that first connection? And even if, particularly with people that don't end up being like great friends, but just the chit chat at the grocery store, those things, because I think our introverts in particular, that's not something that they're resonating with.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it is like you're born with that. It's always just, it's weird. I was super, super, super shy as a child. Like, I'd hide behind furniture when relatives came over because I didn't want to talk to them or look at them or have them talk to me. And then some things shifted. I don't know when, middle school maybe or something. And then I became very extroverted. Like, nothing happened. I don't know of anything that ever happened, but, and I was a cop, when I was in my 20s, and like, people will come up and tell me everything, like, for whatever reason. But I don't ever have a problem just talking to people. But I think when people do have a problem with just talking to people casually, like at a bus station or the grocery store or whatever, it's because they are like nervous. This is what I've read, like, or talked to people who said this, like they judge, they're like, oh my God, I just said something stupid. And they feel awkward. I don't feel awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't ever really feel awkward. Or if I do, it's like, okay, fleeting, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's interesting. And it's, go ahead.
I was going to say, when you say the awkward thing, that makes me think though, part of it is that, like, so what if they're judging me because you can just walk away? Like, you don't have to ever see them again. Right.
But people stress about that.
Yeah.
People stress about that. There's another show that I watched that I finished. It's called Physical with Rose Byrne. It's series, and she's an anorexic, and a lot of it is her self-talk. And I think it's the best thing I've ever seen on that subject of anorexia and just kind of insecurity, seeing this beautiful woman who's like from the outside accomplished and all this, but everything that's going on in her head. It's really well done. I think it's on Apple. Might be HBO, but I think it's Apple. But it is so good, and it's what I became sympathetic to, and the same with Remarkably Bright Creatures, is how people do need that connection, and how they do internally destroy themselves. And it's so unfair, right? And it could come from something that somebody said when they were a kid, or something that happened to them. I've read all those stories where, like, a teacher said something to a child, and then that is in their head that, forever. Right. And the woman who just, that book Strangers about her divorce. She took a writing class when she was 20, when that's what she wanted to be, was a writer. And one guy in the class named like Greg said her writing sucked. And so for 20 something years, it was only Greg's voice in her head. And that was my thing. I told you with the writing is that these people from my past, I thought were going to be judgy. So I've gone over that part. Now I just have to deal with the ADHD part. But, I think that is like, it's really hard for people like to approach other people, or they don't want people thinking they're a weirdo, or why is this person so awkward? But they're judging that in their own head,
Yeah, because most people, there's something called a likability factor, which is super cool. It's that people perceive that they are less well liked than they really are. Mm-hmm. Really interesting. Like whether it's friends or just you go up and approach someone that you think that they're thinking you're creepy when, I mean, maybe, but it's less likely than you think it is. And so if you just, say hi, most of the time when you say hi to someone, they're not thinking, oh my gosh, like, and start judging.
I think they think that people think they're like dorky, too dorky. And it goes back to like grade school and middle school. But, it is interesting. I lived in Seattle for 16 years, and I was just describing this to a person who's a native. Tucsonan was the Seattle chill, or it's called the Seattle freeze or something. The Seattle chill or the Seattle freeze. But it's very hard to make friends in the Pacific Northwest because, and maybe that's going to change with the weather, but that gloomy weather and people are suspicious of you. So like I came from the Midwest where I'm like, hi, everybody. Hi, come on in, come see my bedroom. Look how I set it up. Here's my laundry basket. And in Seattle, they're like, don't step foot beyond my living. If I'm going to invite you over, no one ever showed you their house. Like you just stayed in the living room. Maybe you wouldn't use the bathroom, but like, if you go to someone's house in the Midwest, like they will show you everything. I don't know. It's a thing of like friendliness. And so, that's another thing is like, what is friendliness? Right. And so it's like, what are these Seattle people afraid of? Like people, that's when I lived there, I'm like, what do you think I'm going to do? Like, what do you think I want from you? So I think that that's also in people's head. Like just because I'm talking to you or I meet you at a store doesn't mean I want something from you. But, it's hard. Like you encounter many people who don't receive your friendliness the same way.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about that is we live in Tucson and I'll go out on a walk or a hike and I pass several different people, right? Some might be walking their dogs. Some might be walking and talking to someone, whatever it is. Pretty much everybody waves. Hello. Hi. How are you? How's your day? People are really friendly. I'm like, oh, cool. Look at your dog and, have a great hike. And, it puts me in like a really, really good mood. And so it's the strength of weak ties. It's like, I don't have to have some kind of relationship or friendship with these people, but this connection that I'm having, the cumulative effect of it, right? Because by having it happen with 20 people on one hike. But then I go to Phoenix, and don't get me wrong, people from Phoenix, I lived there. I grew up there for part of my childhood, but, it's not the same. Like I'll walk or hike and people look away. They don't say hi. If I say hi, sometimes they'll say hi back, but sometimes they don't even say hi back. And I'll actually leave that hike feeling a little more depleted. It's interesting. Yeah. So these people, these connections that don't really matter, right?
Right.
They matter.
But I think that's what's happening in society as a whole, that people aren't having these weak ties. And so it's easier for them to assume the worst about other people, immigrants and gay people and all this, when they don't like expand their circle. And when I don't know, there's this, I'm not going to say it's like new because it's always been, it's just whether you notice or not. But like people, if they're not connecting in that way, they're going to be naturally more hateful and more less likely to like care about their, neighbor. I mean, if you look back forever in every society and every like strata of society in our country, right? Like you look at the 1950s and the horrendous racism and everything that occurred before that in Jim Crow, but then Black people were able to have really strong community ties and they were having vibrant communities, which of course then we came in and put freeways through their towns, right? To kind of destroy that. Like it was intentional. So it's like that mattered. That helped so much. I think that friendship and community is a survival mechanism for humans.
Yeah.
And when when other groups of people see strong community, they try to destroy it in any way they can because it's like threatening to them. And I feel like that happens on a micro level with like individuals. Like my neighborhood here, I probably don't agree with a lot of the people who live here, but everyone does the same thing of waving when they're driving.
Mm-hmm.
They always wave. I don't know them. I've never talked to them, but they always wave. Like 90% of the people in my neighborhood wave at you when they drive by.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's
but
just
that
nice.
is, yeah. And it is nice because it makes me more charitable towards them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's because Phoenix is a big city. It's the culture. I mean, when I moved to Seattle, it was 1992. It was not a big city. There was nothing open past 10 p.m. It was so different than it is now. And people were very closed off and they thought I was like, probably over the top. But like every time I would meet people in Seattle, who would actually talk to me, like in a dog park or whatever, always Midwesterners. Never Pacific Northwest people. It was always transplants, you know?
Yep.
So,
I mean, it makes sense.
Phoenix, I don't know. I mean, I've only been there a few times and I don't want to live there, just the heat and it's a bigger city, right? But like, I don't know. I mean, I go to San Diego and I mean, part of, I think, a bigger city is it's like, oh my God, if you're walking down the street, can't say hi to everybody. And I mean, I lived in New York City. I lived in Miami. And I mean, New York City looked as a walking city, right? So you're like walking down the street and there's 100 languages being spoken around you. Everyone's going somewhere, doing something. But then like I connected when I lived there with people that were running the corner little shop, right? And I got into where I like, and I did the same thing in a small town in Wyoming. I go to the same place to get like the same thing, to have people say hi to you, to have them know who, you are. And it's interesting because then you just move and disappear, right? And it's not like you go say goodbye to those people unless you really have a relationship with them. But in both New York City and small town Wyoming, that made a big difference in my life. Like I liked going into the stores or the post office or whatever where people knew me. But I don't know if you can like look at Miami. That's not a walkable city. The one time I walked, I was called a fat ass or a lard ass, screamed at from a car. And people don't walk there. I was like an anomaly.
But right? I mean, I'm just thinking about it even beyond walking. It's like the grocery store or your, how interactive you are with your server at the restaurant. And, it's like things are, more transactional versus connective, right? Like this idea that you're actually making a connection. I went to dinner last night and had the nicest server, and we had just a really good interaction the whole time, every time she came over. And I was like, okay, that made my dinner so much more pleasant. Actually, it was Mother's Day. It was so busy. Everybody was running around, and she just took the time to like just be with us. And I was like, gosh, that was really cool. And I literally had a better experience at dinner.
And I wonder what her experience was. Like, is she just focused on tips, or does that help her, like, make her working experience feel better? Oh, okay, there are nice people, because I'm sure a lot of people are real shitty.
I'm sure. I bet it's probably really nice. I mean, working in any kind of industry where you're forward facing to anyone, when they're nice to you, it's like super nice. Like when I have students, who we could have a very transactional relationship. You submit something, I grade it, right? But I like it when we interact and we can actually have conversations, and that makes I'm not doing it to get good course reviews. I'm doing it because it makes my experience better.
Right.
And I hope it makes their experience better. But I do think we're moving away from this strength of weak ties. I think we're looking at it as you either have strong ties or you have no ties, and you're insular with your people or you have no people. And I do worry about that sort of intermediary place of that weak ties, where you have the acquaintance, you have the coworker that you see at work and you know their name and they have a dog, but you don't know much more about them. That relationship is still really important.
Okay, well, we should write a book. So now I know that I'm saying this, you'll do it. I won't, but you write a book about this, because I do feel like, I mean, that is I think a destruction of society. I mean, okay, like I have been in totalitarian countries where you can't look or smile or talk to other people, and where they may be your enemy, plotting against you with the government, right? And I mean, that's intentional by the government to create that fear amongst the people, to like destroy these weak ties. And I do think we're losing that in the US because, I don't know, we're becoming more car centric. We're becoming, you know what I mean? You can just go through the drive through. You can order everything you ever wanted on Amazon, you know?
Right. But there's also something really interesting is that there's a misperception that we have weak ties because we have social media. So you might have, for instance, I have a lot of people on my Facebook that I'm friends with that are other writers through my publisher. And we have never met each other, but we support each other. We're liking each other's stuff because we're releasing books. So I would call this a weak tie, but there's a misperception. And I, studied this with young people, Gen Z in particular, that these weak ties are actually strong ties. And that you overemphasize the importance of them. Like all of a sudden, because you can scroll through and see that they posted pictures of their family or their dog or their vacation, that you somehow know them and have a deeper connection than you actually do. And so it's a really interesting time when we don't actually have as many legitimate weak ties, but we have these like sort of false sense of like weak ties to strong ties, which, a lot of people are like, oh, I have a lot of friends. Like look at my social media, but how many of them have you met, first of all, right? Or how many of them have you met more than once? I know, you love like meeting someone and saying, hey, let's connect on Facebook. And then you might not ever see them again. Are these connections?
I have a lot of Facebook friends I've never even met.
Yeah.
Now that's connections through veganism, through the Elephant Nature Park or whatever. But like, actually I've communicated with those people, on Messenger. Maybe I won't meet them. Right. But that's the thing. Like I got a message recently from a friend who I met her husband, their kids when they were at the Elephant Nature Park last time I was there, the time before. And, I spent a few days with them. One of the kids was trans and I think the other kid was questioning, and I did my little spiel on always be yourself, always do, what you want, and you've got the greatest parents and all that. And, she sent me a message recently because she and another volunteer were going back, just the two ladies without their family. And we went back and forth on a couple things, and she's like, you will always have a home with us. And it's like, we spent a week together, right? But like, It made such a deep, profound impact, on that family. And it's interesting because I had a similar experience with another family, but those people were not on social media. They live in Malaysia. And so I never have kept in touch with them. Whereas the man, the husband, like wanted to buy me a beer and sit and talk. I don't have the beer because I don't drink beer, but we sat and talked, and he liked me so much and was so complimentary. That's the guy who told me I had high school teacher written all over me. And I took that as a real compliment. This is a husband and wife who were teachers, and, but they don't do social media. So we've never stayed in touch. Whereas the other lady from Australia, we stay in touch because she sees what I'm doing. She sees I got married, all that. And so, we did spend a couple days together where we were eating, together, picking up poop, all that kind of fun stuff. And it made that's a lifelong friendship. Like I have several friends in Australia. I feel like I would be fine going and staying at their house, if I wanted to travel there. And so, I don't know that you'd call them weak ties or strong ties. Strong ties can become weak ties, whatever. But that is the thing where social media really does keep you connected and together. Because how would you meet someone in Thailand 1 week of your life without social media? How would you ever keep in touch?
Yeah. I mean, that's why there's the upsides and the downsides of social media, right? I mean, in some ways it creates, fosters, and builds connection with weak ties, or people that are almost like no ties other than you've just friended them. But on the other hand, it also mischaracterizes, these connections as like best friendships, right? When you may be thinking, oh, I've got this really great friend in Idaho, and I'm going to go, we're like really good friends. And that person's like, no, we're not. We just connected on Facebook. And so
that's a problem of, I think, you can get into stalking and like weirdness. That's like an issue. And I think this is the same with like feeling bad. You read women's self-esteem of, oh, you see Demi Moore being, the really thin or pretty or whatever. And then it's like, oh, I'm not that. And it's also like, okay. Demi Moore can't be less than she is to make you feel better. So you got to figure that out in yourself. And I think that's the case with social media also, is you have to look at yourself and saying, okay, do I really have a connection with these people?
Right. Well, I mean, you and I have run into that, or I know I have run into that with the podcast, where I will have people message me, that know way too much about my life because I put it out there. It's fine. It's public information. I'm putting it out there. I put out my memoir, The Soulmate Strategy. Awesome. I have all my stuff kind of out there, but then I have people who, I'm friends with on social media who then maybe message me and is like, they, in a very familiar kind of way, as if they know me, but they know me, but I don't know them at all. Like I have no idea who these people are. And so they're not necessarily, I would call them stalkers because they're not, but there's just this mischaracterization of the fact that we're friends on social media and they know a lot about me, but really forgetting the fact that I know nothing about them at all. So, I mean,
well, it's like watching these TV shows. I could be like, I've gotten so into shows that I like when the show's over, I miss those people. And I'm like, these aren't even real people. This was just a show, right? So then you have to say, what is it that you're connecting to internally? But I think that requires a lot of reflection on each person's part, right? And I do think that people, celebrities in general, people connect so much to whatever they're putting out, right? It may be nothing. Like that's what I have to constantly tell the kids. This crap that you're seeing on TikTok or whatever, it may not even be real. Like they'll tell me things like, oh, these women think that. I'm like, no. One, that's trolls. Two, like you don't even, that's like one person's perception and they're making it seem like it's something else. And so I think that is a user error where you are the user. You and I and every person is the user of all these things, of friendship, of social media, of whatever. And we have to constantly bring ourselves or keep ourselves in reality. And I think that's really hard for people, and they find connection in some way. And the extreme of that would be stalkers, right? But that they find connection and they feel, I mean, look at, Elizabeth Gilbert's book, All the Way to the River. Like when I was listening to that, you're listening to her read it, you're hearing her voice. And that book resonated so much with me and what I was, really delving into at the time about, what happens to us when we die, who are we as people, blah, blah, blah. And if I met her, she wouldn't even, I wouldn't register like my face, my whatever. But yes, I know all this about her. And I think that that's the thing where people like you, people like her are willing to put that out there. I mean, me to some extent, right? But then you have people who are absolutely not going to put that kind of information out there. Like way more private people. And so I do think that it's a byproduct of celebrity. It's a risk of celebrity, I mean, of being known.
Right.
And are you really known? Are you just putting out, or do they just know what you chose to put out?
Well, that's it. It's curated information. I mean,
but that it could be the same in personal relationships. Are people really truly that vulnerable / transparent with the person they're with or friends with?
Right. Yeah. And are people connecting with the real person, or are they connecting with what they want to connect with, or
what that person wants them to connect with, but that's like, how could this lady have been married to this guy for 20 something years and then he just walks out and walks away from their kids and she's shocked and all that. And it's like, were there signs? And, a lot of those books, I mean, I'm listening to Giselle Pellico's book now, the French woman whose husband did all those horrible things to her. And she's going over her whole life. And I'm like, oh, okay, boring. But it's so important that she does an inventory of her life, because she has to reconcile in her mind, who was she married to? Did she ever really know him?
Right.
And she said, if I just say, I didn't know him and he's awful, then all the years of my life, 50 years of my life, didn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing how we sometimes just have no idea who people even are. I mean, that kind of thing is just crazy, because it's like, 50 years of your life. But there's this cool research that talks about how long it takes to actually make like legitimate friendships, right? Where, and it's like it's 30 hours for a casual friendship, 50 hours of spending time together for a friendship, 140 hours for a good friendship, and 300 hours for a best friendship. I mean, I guess the idea behind it is that the longer you spend with someone, the more you'll see all of them, right? Like all the parts of them, rather than just, like a couple days that you saw, hung out for a few hours here and there or whatever. Again, people curate what they want to share. And so the more time you spend with someone, the less curation they can do, or at least it's a lot harder for them to do
It's
because,
harder, right?
yeah. And so then you start to get to know them and know whether that connection is reciprocal, if it's real, if it's
Right.
healthy, all those things. And so, I think that that's really interesting, especially people who meet and like within like, we know it even in love relationships and in the lesbian community is like, you've gone on 2 dates and you're already moving in together. And it's like, you've spent a total of 7 hours together. What,
Well, and people always say, oh, it's lesbians, but when I was a cop and when I've done family law, it's straight people too.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, there's a culture of moving in quickly or moving quickly to the next stage. And I've done it. I know you've done it. So I mean, we're not sitting here telling the people not, that we're, perfect in this area. But the idea is, you take a chance. And then if it works out,
Right.
you're like I did that with someone and then it worked out for like, well over a decade and we had a kid. And so
Right,
I'm like,
right.
well, it worked out. It worked out. So it must have been a
Right.
good decision. No, it was a terrible decision. It worked out. Like that's the difference, right? And sometimes you make
Was
really
it,
good.
or okay. Was it, I mean, that's a very interesting thing because you just said it was a terrible decision, but it worked out.
It was a terrible decision to move that quickly. We should have slowed it down. She should have
but
finished
this
out the
French
school
lady
year.
moved slowly and then she ended up with a monster.
I know, and I've done that too. So
it's the odds of like,
it's just,
I think that's where there are other people, some people just aren't as trusting, right? Like, I don't know. You have to trust someone to be a friend or to be in a relationship with them. But that is very interesting. It's interesting you just said that. I tried it and it just happened to work out.
I mean,
But
it happened,
really,
and I'll say that it happened to work out. I mean, I think the decision itself was terrible. We were very haphazard about it. We scrambled around. She quit her job in the middle of a school year when she should have finished it out, came and was unemployed, and we were living on a shoestring, and she was allergic to my cat. And there were so many things that like if we would have just slowed down for just like even a few months, could have gotten to know each other a little bit better, could have planned it a little bit better. And yes, and while it worked out, we often judge a decision by its outcome, not by the decision.
Right.
And so you're like, oh, I've hitchhiked before and I didn't get killed.
Right.
Right. Like, okay, great. But that doesn't
Right.
make that a good decision per se,
Well, right.
But anyways, yeah. So I think about that in terms of like, getting to know each other. But like, if you look at your friends, cause there's a great Pew Research study that says that 62% of people actually have fewer than 5, like really good friends. You look at the amount of time it takes. You said you've had a lot of friends for more than 20 years. How many like good sustained friends have you had over that period of time? And they don't have to have been the whole 20 years, but like a good chunk of time where you feel like that you had a really good friend in that mix. And I mean, are we talking a handful? Are we talking dozens?
No, I mean, I'd say 2 hands full, right? Like probably 10. I mean, really close friends, but also those relationships like kind of ebb and flow as well, right? Like I don't like my old police partner and his wife always said, honey, you have to call him. You have to do this. And I'm like, why? Why should I have to do everything? And so I kind of stopped doing everything. I'll probably see him when we go in June and it'll be just like no time passed, but he doesn't have any interest in texting or calling me, it's interesting. And I think that's the other thing about friendships and close friendships. It really is based on the feeling that you have and that I know that he would do whatever for me except call or keep in touch. Like, so it's like what matters to you, to the individual having the friendships, like what is it that matters? What is it, right? If it's like, oh, I need this and this and this from you, and if I don't have that, then we're not close, right? But I think that that's where it's in the eye of the beholder,
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, probably I'd say 10.
Okay, and some of those are still in your life, and some of them have sort of gone.
Yeah, and then there's probably like 150, 200 that I know would help me if I asked for help,
Yep. Yeah.
And then there's even more who would help me if I just asked, like, if I did a GoFundMe or something like that. But like, I think it's the time that it takes. Like a person can only do so much, right? Like,
right.
Would I like to have 1,000 best friends? Yeah, but how could I do that? You know what I mean?
Right. Because of the time. Sure.
It's just time. And it's like their lives are so different. And I mean, like I have this friend in Spain and we'll go through periods where we do message a lot and then we just don't. And I just thought of that yesterday and I was like, oh my God, I got to message her. And then I just stopped. And, she took a job and she's busy doing that. And it's like, also, if we have too much contact, then like, what are we even saying anymore? You know what I mean? It's like humdrum. I told you the other day when we went hiking, I'm like, I don't have anything to say.
I
mean, what am I going to tell you about how I wash the dishes and how I make cookies?
No, but we still talked for an entire hour straight up and then stood in the parking lot and talked for another 15 minutes. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. If you spend way too much time with one person, you don't really have much to tell them. But that doesn't really hold true with our partners. I mean, we spend a lot of time with them and we still have a lot to talk about. But that's like
different. I mean,
maybe. I mean, we still have things.
Do we do a whole episode or we just do it now? Like a partner is so different. And why is that? Like, you know what I mean? Like I want to be with my wife 24/7, but I don't feel that way about anybody else. And I've never felt that way about other people that I was with. So it's like, what is it?
Yeah.
It's just a soothing feeling. It's like a balm to my soul, to my being, to my whatever. Whereas it's not the case with other people. Yeah, I want to have friends and yeah, I want to do things, whatever. But, no, I wouldn't want to spend that much time with anybody. And like, it is true. Like, like what is going on in your life? Does that make you more talkative or more interesting? You know what I mean?
Like the fact that you were washing dishes and you felt like that wasn't interesting to have.
Well, I mean, who wants to hear about that?
I do. I love talking about washing dishes.
Do you want to talk about how to load a dishwasher?
No, because I suck at loading a dishwasher. According to my partner, I'm a horrible dishwasher loader.
You're the raccoon on meth.
I am, and I totally admit it.
You put plastic on the top?
Oh, I don't. I put everything wherever it fits, and it just goes in whatever direction it wants to go.
Okay, that's disgusting.
She comes over the other day. She came over and she went to put something in the dishwasher, and she paused for a second, and she slid the thing back in and closed it. And I said, just resist the temptation, because she'll come over and reload the whole thing. And I'm like, it's just me. Like I run my dishwasher like once a week, maybe. And so I'm like, it doesn't really matter what direction they're facing. And so. But she's way better at it.
It matters, because what if the water what if it, like twice now I've had glasses that were tipped to the side that I'm like, why is this happening? This has never happened before. I'm very careful about how I put everything in, and it's put in for maximum removal. So if I'm going to remove the plates, they should all come out together.
Maximum removal.
And they should be dry, and you should only open the dishwasher gently, pull out the lower one first. Never, ever, ever pull out the top first, ever.
I pull out the top first all the time. You mean the top drawer? The top thing? You pull it out. I empty all my cups and stuff.
After you've done the bottom. If you pull out the top first, you're going to get the stuff on the bottom wet.
Oh my
God. In case there's any remaining water droplets.
You two need to talk, because she also thinks that, I mean, she is a better dishwasher loader than me. You two need to like bond over this. This is not my strength. I have a lot of strengths in this world. That is not my strength.
That's why my wife told the kids this weekend, you guys are so lucky that Tracy is such a control freak about the dishes. You're never going to have to do dishes in this house. And I said, that's right. No one's ever going to do it, because unless you load the dishwasher exactly as I say, because if somebody, and maybe it's happened and I've blacked it out, I can't deal with it, that has pulled out the top shelf in front of me, I will freak. I'll redo everything. I'll just redo it all. Gosh. I'll set it again and I'll be like, I was like putting, clean, don't touch. Like, cause we have the dishwasher that pops open now when it's done.
Okay.
To let the steam out.
Yeah.
And I don't want I'm like, oh my God, what if somebody gets to it before I do?
They put their grubby little hands on it.
Yeah. What if they put something dirty in there?
Oh my gosh. See, okay, here, this is case in point. You said nobody wants to talk about doing dishes. We've just talked for 5 straight minutes about dishes. So it just goes to show that nothing is humdrum anymore.
I guess.
Okay, I'm going to
Like,
end. I want to end with asking you a question to tie it all together with this thing, because I want
okay.
to know for you, because I am actually curious. I'm going to give you a little quiz, and if your listeners, you're playing along, you could take this quiz too, and maybe talk about it with your friends. But what matters most in forming a new friendship? Okay, I'm going to give you a couple choices.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to pick the number one. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. It's the number one thing would be values and viewpoints, meaning that you see eye to eye on the things that matter most to you. Is it culture, identity, or circumstance, meaning that you both share a significant identity or similar circumstance, meaning like you both identify as a lesbian or you both identify as parents or whatever that is. Professional alignment, you are in the same occupational field. Common interests, you share one or more hobbies. Proximity, you live and or work near each other. Or mutual friends, you share common social connections, so you're therefore going to be in the same space a lot. What is the number one for you?
Values and viewpoints.
Okay, why is that?
It's all my ethics. I want to be aligned ethically with people. I mean, of course, we can't agree down to the nitty gritty on everything, but I do want to have similar values and viewpoints, which culture, identity, or circumstances sort of similar. That'd probably be my second. I don't care about professional alignment. I barely know any attorneys.
Well, you don't even align with that profession. I mean, for the most part.
I know, but it's right.
Yeah.
But it's weird because when I was a cop, that's who I hung out with was other cops, even though
Yep, and that's
we
big for
didn't
people.
necessarily. I know, because that was because I worked nights. A lot of people did it. It's hard to socialize with people when you're off during the day. And so I hung out way more with cops. Plus it is like a weird family kind of dynamic, but, common interests, I don't really care that much. I mean, I do sort of like hiking, whatever, but pickleball, I guess. So that'd probably be third. So it'd go like values and viewpoints, culture, identity, or circumstance, common interests, and the rest I don't really care about.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm going to go with values and viewpoints as number one.
Yeah.
And I'll probably also go with cultural identity and circumstance. At least someone who shares something with me in terms of lived experience.
Put common. I think if it was you, I think you'd go values and viewpoints, culture, identity, or circumstance, common interests, and professional alignment.
Yes, you're right. That's exactly the order I would put them.
And I don't think the other ones are helpful, proximity or mutual friends, but they're not necessary.
No, I mean, I have a lot of great friends that are all around the world, so I don't think about that. And then mutual friends, I'm not any more inclined or disinclined to be friends with someone because we share friends. But I definitely think I want to know that we can talk about really important things and that we're on the same wavelength. I mean, we might have a few little, differences here and there. Like you and I have talked about a lot of things. We agree probably 95% of the time on things.
Right. Our arguments can get pretty crazy.
I know.
On that 5%, we really can go at it. But you changed my viewpoint after a real serious argument about the Supreme Court.
I was just going to say the Supreme Court.
Yeah, that really changed my view. And I had another friend who we were out. This was way long ago when I used to, have cocktails, which I don't anymore. But we just had a couple drinks. But we got in a huge fight in a bar in Seattle over the legalization or decriminalization of drugs. And I was so against legalization or decriminalization. And I came to decriminalization after that argument, which it was, I mean, other people were noticing it was bad. The people we were with were like, oh my God, calm down. And then I was arguing so much with her. And then I don't know, it sunk in. Then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm totally for decriminalization of everything.
I mean, at least you're open. I mean, there's some things I'm not open to whatsoever. Like there will be political things I will never, ever, ever change my mind on. But there are some things where our conversations have broadened my perspectives. But we usually have a pretty long starting point. If we're running a 50-yard dash, you and I are already at the 40-yard line when we disagree. And so it's just kind of getting over the finish line. But it
can become heated though sometimes.
It can. But, they're always really educated conversations. And I really don't want to be around people who don't want to talk about those kind of things either. The other thing is not even like the sharing of the values and viewpoints. If you don't even have any values or viewpoints, I mean, I've run into this. People like, I kind of stay out of that. I don't really keep up on current events. And I'm like, well, we don't really have anything in common. Like
Right.
I do. I want to talk about this stuff. I want to know the world we live in. And so that part's too. I like to be with people who are super engaged with the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Me too.
But I think if I were to add one, and this is something new for me, if I were to add one to this list, and I want to know if you would add one too, but I'm going to add one, which is pace. And it's going to sound weird, but pace is really important to me.
Life pace.
Life pace.
For you, it's very important with your partner.
Well, it is. And I, finally with somebody who like we have like perfectly aligned pacing about life. Like, those people, the friends that are like, I've asked someone like, do you want to go for like a 4-mile hike on Saturday? And they're like, oh, I can't because on Sunday I'm doing dinner with someone. I'm like, okay, I don't understand. That's Sunday. They're like, well, I'm only doing one thing this weekend. And I'm like, oh God. Okay. Well,
Right.
what are you doing the rest of the weekend? They're like, I'm just going to chill out. And I'm like, that doesn't even compute to me. Like, I don't understand what you're telling me. So pace is kind of important. I mean, it's not that I won't be friends with those people. It's just that I will obviously spend a lot less time with them. And they're not the ones you call when you're like, hey, I got an extra ticket to this concert. Want to go? They're like, oh, you should have told me like 6 weeks ago because I'm having dinner with my grandma in a week and I need to prepare.
But that is true. That's the thing. Now, interestingly, my wife and I do not share the same pace at all. And she's trying to like come up to my pace a little bit, but she does not want to come to my pace in general. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, I don't need that. Like, I am my own creature. And also, like, I'm not hiking. I haven't told you this yet, but I'm taking like a month or 2 off because my feet are really, really hurting and I've got to get back to yoga. And it's like, I want that. You're way more consistent than I am. Like, you know what I mean? So for you, it's really important for you to have people who can match that. I don't care,
Yeah.
I don't care. I have a lot of friends who do not match my pace at all. And I really don't care.
Isn't that funny though? Because it's not, but you match my pace and I care.
Right.
So that's what's so funny about it, right? Because that's something I would add to the list. What would you add to the list? Anything else that's like super important that's not on here?
No, I mean, the values and viewpoints is so important to me.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of my main thing. I really don't care. I don't care if their pacing is, I don't care about any of that. I care about, do you care about the earth? Do you care about the animals? Even if they're not vegan or vegetarian, that they're receptive. But I can't hang out with people that aren't. That's just like, even if they're not where I am, if they can listen or they can be respectful, that's important to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we've had a really good conversation. We've covered a lot of ground, but I'm going to end with one quick question for you. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is you're a pretty crappy friend. 10 is you think that you show up as a really good friend to people. Where would you put yourself today on that continuum?
I'm a 10. I always have been.
You're a 10? What makes you a 10?
Yeah. Because I will always be there to help friends. I'm here to listen. I'm here to help. I'll do what I can to help people.
Okay.
And excellent.
You? I would like to put myself at probably a 9. I think I'm a really, really good friend. I'm always there for people. But there's sometimes where maybe I mess up or I hurt someone's feelings or I think. But as far as effort goes, I would put myself at a 10. As far as intentional effort, I put myself as a 10. If I make mistakes, that comes out of that. But yeah, I don't think there's any friendship that I don't invest in and I don't really try hard. So I would give myself 10 for intentional effort.
I'm going to give you a 10, and I think you should let that 9 go because that's all that really matters. We can't always be everything for everybody. We can't do everything we want to do in life. That's just a fact. That's just reality. It doesn't mean you don't want to. I think that wanting to and wanting to be there for people, that's what makes a person a 10.
Awesome. Well, let's end there. That's great. We're both 10s.
There we go. In our own eyes.
In our own eyes. All right. Well, for all of our listeners out there, until our next episode, go out there and rock those relationships. If you liked what you heard, check out our show notes for resources from today's episode. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram under Rock That Relationship and go to our website at rockthatrelationship.com for updated episodes and more great information.
Thanks for listening. Now go rock those relationships.